Hi everyone, I'm Matthew Vaughn and I'm a junior at Lake Oconee Academy. You probably wouldn't believe this if I told you, but I'm a starter on the varsity football team. I don't think he would believe it either. As a kid, I never really fit the mold. I was always the smallest in the grade and I never really played sports because I had challenges that God gave me. But I was still a happy kid. I enjoyed my childhood. I had a lot of fun. But when I got to middle school, I wanted to start getting into sports because I actually wanted to do something in my life and not play video games all day. In 7th grade, there was rumors that a football program would be coming around, and I figured that would be a perfect sport that I started with. So when I told my parents I wanted to play, I don't know what they thought, but it probably was not good things, but they let me play anyways. And so spring practice came around, and it was basically learning the playbooks and stuff. And then once we got closer to the summer, weight training started, and that's where I really began to struggle. After one workout, I came home and I told my parents I didn't want to play anymore, and they knew that day would come someday. But that year, I ran cross country to get into shape, and I still was really close to the football program, being the manager for the varsity team and going to all the games. Then after that year, I told my parents I was going back out to play, and I don't think they thought that day would ever come. So I played football in 8th grade, and that summer, going into my 8th grade season, was the hardest summer of my life. It was the most work I had ever done in a short span, and it built me for what has come today. And so I knew that after that 8th grade year that I wasn't going to play much in varsity, so I had to work harder. So as a freshman, I worked even harder, and I kept working. I kept doing film study, and I was one of the most knowledgeable football players on the team. I didn't have the size, but I had the mind, so I was basically a coach in pads. And then after my freshman year, I realized that I wasn't going to play a normal position, so I discovered a position that would get me on the field before my sophomore year. That position was long snapper, and not a lot of people know what that is because it's a position where you get no stats, you get no recognition, but basically you're upside down, throwing the ball backwards to a target, and if you don't throw it perfectly, you get yelled at. That year, I did not start, but I ended up starting in one game. I had 2 field goal snaps, but that was the sort of foundation for what was to come. My junior year, I put on about 20 pounds of muscle because I knew that if I wanted to start at long snapper that I would need to do that. In my junior year, I started on the field goal unit, and that was the first time I ever started in a sport and ever actually got playing time. And a story that I like to tell about how I persevered is in week 2 of the season, we were playing George Walton, and the forecast was for heavy rain, and it was going to be muddy and horrible field conditions. So that night before the game, probably about midnight, I was out in my backyard in the pouring rain by myself, snapping into a target just to get ready for the game. I mean, that's pretty much all I do. I just snap in my backyard now. Going into my senior year, I can't have any regrets because there's no more next year. I'll wait till next year to do this, do that. I have to have no regrets in every single workouts, every single play. It's my last time ever going to be putting the pads on again. So in my future, I want to come back here and coach the football team. And who knows, one day maybe I'll be coaching in college. And so what basically I want you guys to get from this is one small decision can change your life. It may be different for everybody, but if you make a decision and stick to it, it will give you immense results in the end. And so I challenge all of you to make one hard decision today. Some days I look back and think on what would happen if I never made the decision to come back out and play in 8th grade, and I guess we'll never know.